to find yourself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is... Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's just like trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah. It's all about the entertainment, so I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And the Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Hello everybody and welcome to Suzuka as we home in on the end of another iGPFun Super Formula Lights League season here. It's round 10 with 3 races from its conclusion and it's time to go racing at Suzuka. The twists and turns, the rises and falls of this great Japanese racetrack hosting the Japanese Grand Prix and countless championship-defining moments throughout its history. Maybe we're going to have one more here this afternoon. It's myself, Ewan Leary, James Parfitt alongside me for this round of the championship. It's been a good season so far, James, as we continue to get used to the new Super Formula Lights League, replacing the Formula 3 that we used to run in this league. All of its differences writ large for us over the course of this season. One of those is that it's a little bit more understeery, to be honest, and sometimes it can feel like it drags a little bit on the front end. They're certainly going to have to tune that out of the car here today, as the twists and turns of Suzuka really take them on, and the lack of ability for an error around here will become very apparent to them very quickly.
Yeah, they will. I think at the end of the day, we've got quite a light track temperature, 24 degrees centigrade. So it is quite cool for them. The tyres are going to be a problem, especially when they're coming up. If they ruin the rears, they're going to suffer on the up through the S's and spoon and exiting out the chicane. If they ruin the front, they'll have to brake earlier for the hairpin and chicane. So they've got to try and balance temperatures here in them tyres, because otherwise they're not going to have a lot left by the time they get to the end of the lap count. Of course, at the moment with Suzuka, we've got 26 laps here as well. It's going to be very tough. Well renowned, been around since 1961, and one of the few circuits that are actually owned by a car manufacturer. Is actually owned by Honda as well here at Suzuka. So there's not many that are owned by car owners, and Honda is one of them with this circuit. It's going to be tough. The S's, Degner 1, Degner 2, can't run wide at double knop, otherwise you're going to be in the kitty litter on the right hand side.
That is the case around a lot of these corners. As I mentioned, it's one of those places that still retains its character, in that there's no room for error really, especially in the first part of the lap. You do get a bit more wiggle room at Spoon Curve, turn 13, 14, and when you get to 130R as well, there is a bit more wiggle room these days, but for the most part, there is little room for a mistake. Let's have a look at the championship standings as we go through the 10th round of the championship. I can tell you, by the way, this is with one drop week applied. So things do change slightly when you apply the second, which we will start to do from next week onwards. Aberdeen is leading the way. Lee Aberdeen by 12 points ahead of Brent Ruiz. Tonio Jimenez is just ahead of Luca Varani for third place. Jakub Olszewski is rounding up the top 5. Andy Flint is quite a few points further back. There's a real big difference between the top 5 and the rest. Tomi Maru is in 7th place ahead of Dennis Cornu. We've got Rainer King, who got a great start to the season. He's 9th ahead of Evan Way, rounding out the top 10. Nicholas Westman is 11th ahead of Marcis Putniks in 12th. Simon Bessie is ahead of Mackenzie Rudin and Edward Amos to round out the top 15. Then rounding out the top 20, Simon Frelick, Pedro Suarez, Joel Aguilera, Zoltan Zamota and Marcelo Kessler. As I say, that is with one drop week applied to give you the gap between first and second with 2 applied. Lee Aberdeen leads Brent Ruiz by 16 points instead of just the 12 that we showed you there. So that shows you the difference actually in their drop weeks, I think, in terms of this season. Lee Aberdeen has had a couple of bad races. He's had a 0-point score back at Road Atlanta, and he's had a 13th place finish right the way back in the rain at Hockenheim, where he struggled a little bit actually, and so he's had a couple of those results taken away from him. But for the most part, Brent Ruiz has had a consistent season. He also didn't score any points at Road Atlanta, but his worst result other than that was a 9th place finish back at Monza. Now that takes more points away from him than it's taken away from Lee Aberdeen, if you catch my drift, and so that means that Lee Aberdeen pulls away slightly further in the championship. In summary, with 3 rounds to go and 16 points to make up, Brent Ruiz needs to put some points into Lee Aberdeen, who needs top 4 finishes in these final 3 rounds to be guaranteed another iGPFun title.
Yeah, it will, and I think it's going to be really interesting because, as you say, when you apply the 2, it gives him that 16-point buffer. So Brent has got to literally do some work this week and try and get ahead of him. He's behind him currently at the moment in the standings. In the rookie standings, it's Tommy Morey out in front on 341. He's literally won the championship in the rookies. Ruiz in the 2.5k. Oscar Artinanu and Giovanni Solito are not very far apart, but when you apply the drop weeks, it becomes Giovanni Solito's by only 9 points over Chris Trott. So that's still open and up for running as well. In the overall team standings, Modern Racing Prince GP with Jakob Molozwinski and Evan Way are out in front with Luca Verani, Giovanni Solito, and Tony Jimenez and Joel Aguilera from XPD Racing. But again, if you apply the 2 drop weeks that they have got, it still becomes Modern Racing Prince by quite a while, then XPD Racing, then JPBroadcasting 67, so the bottom 2 or the second and third swap round the other way. So there's still all to play for, but you are right, it's got to be all on Brent Ruiz, and he's got to take points out of Lee Aberdeen. But it's tough. There's a 10th between them at the moment as well. So Lee Aberdeen is looking strong. Tyre wear we know is going to be about an issue as well. There's also a little bit of doubt on fuel. Let's not forget that some have complained about the lack of fuel. But if they run the race right, Ewan, they'll be finished with 2 litres at the end of the race. So they should have enough. But I think it's going to be a little bit more closer than we expect.
That's what Luca Verani says anyway. It's quite interesting to note that some drivers having issues. He says there's nothing to worry about at all. We'll dive in a little bit more to those things that he talked about to us pre-race as we go on with the race. By the way, if you're chalking up maths errors, then you can chalk up number 1. The Aberdeen only needs top 6 in the final 3 races, not top 4, to get the title. So just a little correction for you there. Meanwhile, let's have a look at the starting grid for the 10th round of the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League in Season 2 of 2024. Jesper Sandström is on pole ahead of Ryan Hakim, with championship leader Lee Aberdeen in third ahead of his main rival Brent Ruiz. Mackenzie Rune and Evan Way make up a North American third row, with Tony Jimenez and Jakob Olszewski next. Thomas Toulemond is in 9th ahead of Luca Verani. Nicholas Westman is 11th ahead of Andy Flint, with his countryman Tommy Maru directly behind him in 13th. Dennis Cornu is 14th ahead of Edward Amos and Richie Tapera. It is Leonard Sherry ahead of Alexis de Clare in 18th place. Moses Putnik is 19th ahead of Thibaut Rabelais, with Stuart Milne in 21st. Then 3 Americans, Don Lee, Joseph Lucas and Patrick Williams, rounding out the top 24. Sultan Zamotta is on the next row with Marek Otlovs. Giovanni Solito lines up on row 14 with Adam Talma ahead of Robert Ridgway and Irvins Tummakins, who round up the top 30. Oscar Artinano is 31st ahead of Alex Hopkins, and directly behind his countryman Aziz Carvajal in 33rd. Matthew Gracie is next ahead of Ben Goya and John McKenzie. Kevin Byland is 37th ahead of Dorian Arroyo, and the only driver on home soil, Koji Ito, is at the back. Slightly fearful as to whether he will emerge for the race at all, actually. But we certainly hope so. Wonder what we're going to see here in the opening moments as they try and filter their way through the opening corners of the race. Single file, as always.
Definitely all the way, right the way round to turn 9. So through the first Degners, through Degner 1 and Degner 2, and then they become racing. So we're just waiting for Jesper Sandström, actually, to get onto the grid. So that'd be a shame if he misses out on that one.
He's here, just in time. I hope Koji Ito gets in at the back, but I don't think he will do. He is holding everybody up, and he won't make it, at least not for the start. The lights come on here at Suzuka, and round 10 of the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League gets underway for Season 2 of 2024. Can Ryan Hakim get off to a good enough start to challenge the pole sitter in towards turn 1? He certainly can. Side by side, no active overtaking, of course, but they can complete a move when they're side by side in that way, and Ryan Hakim wasn't quite far enough alongside there to really drive that advantage home. They get single file. Jesper Sandström hangs on, and in the end he's done all he needs to do there, really. Consolidate that pole position into an early race lead by getting that launch off the line.
Yeah, he did what he had to do. He got off the line. We're coming through Dunlop now, so this is where Raheem really wants to be tied up behind him, because as soon as he comes out of Degners 2, here where they're going into 1 now coming into 2, he really wants to be wrapped up behind him if he can, to try and get that run up into the hairpin. You saw a little bit of a mistake from Sandström there. Let's see whether or not Hakim can make the most of it. He can't. He's very late on the brakes, very, very late, and gets that run out, and off they go once again round turn 12. 12. So they're all to play for at the moment, but nice little tiny battles. Nobody in the top 26 has moved position at all. Everybody is still as they are in the top 26.
Yeah, so good start for Jesper Sandström ahead of Ray Hakim. Then it's Lee Aberdeen. Brent Ruiz, just his championship rival, just in behind him. First place, 24. But as I say, Koji Ito didn't get to the start, unfortunately. Kevin Byland starting from pit lane. Don't quite know why he did that, but he's quite a long way off the back of the field now. As a result, looking to work his way forward. Here goes Ray Hakim into the final chicane. He has a heart block, but he's not serious about it, I wouldn't have thought. And so he will stay behind Jesper Sandström at the end of the opening lap. The two of them getting a bit of an advantage over the rest of the field after one lap of 26.
Yeah, they are at the moment. And Brent Ruiz is putting pressure on Aberdeen. Aberdeen's losing near enough a second to these two. Hakim's looking at going to make the move. Is he going to think about it going into the first corner? He's not. He settles in behind. Brent Ruiz also settles in behind Lee Aberdeen. Evan Way's another one there as well. Thomas Tulemon is also in the mix. He's got Luca Volani putting pressure on him once again. No real dramas. Actually, as I say that, Stu Milne has gone off the circuit, but is now back up and running as well. So Stu's managed to consolidate some positions down 4 on where he started. So still action all the way through as per normal. We don't really expect it to be any different. Kevin Byland, however, has just made a frightful error and has unfortunately just had an accident.
Yeah, so a couple of off-track moments, but nothing disastrous so far. No one back to pit lane, other than Kevin Byland has already been in to pit lane to start off with. He's still out there, as is everybody else, as they make their way through the opening lap. Big dive down the inside here from T-Way Ravelar on one of the Americans. It's Joseph Lucas. Really want to say one of the Americans. There's 3 of them in a row here, like ducks. And T-Way Ravelar wants to take them all on here and take plenty of place. He'll be down the inside by Spoon Curve if he can stay alongside and overlapped. He does. Very close, but these cars are small enough for you to go side by side through there. And as Lucas just chops across the nose of the Frenchman, he gets a wash of understeer. And here comes Patrick Williams to try and take advantage. Now, are the Americans going to help each other out here and give each other a slipstream? No. Thibaut Ravelard is going to get the slipstream from Joseph Lucas, who is inviting his own pressure, actually. I'm surprised he didn't go for Williams there, if not just to keep the two of them side by side behind him. It looks like they're going to be side by side again pretty shortly, even without his intervention. And Williams had a little look up the inside of the chicane on that occasion, but couldn't make it work in this battle for 20th place.
Yeah, Brent Ruiz is putting pressure on Lee Aberdeen desperately at the moment. So Lee Aberdeen is feeling the heat, should we say, of Brent Ruiz. We know how potent it is for him to... dearie me.
Well, I saw a few good guys going off track, but that's not unnormal. I don't know what the word is. Unusual is the word I was looking for. And, but that is whatever we just saw there. Tommy Mabrou is the one we follow. Oh, it's a spin for him. But what happens to the two ahead?
Westman goes
there's
off,
Nicholas Westman, his countryman, trying to pick himself out the gravel. Now, that car had...
Whoa!
Three separate incidents in the same corner on the same lap.
Now the only thing, the only thing I can think of that might have caused that is a horrible crosswind down into turn 1. That's my only thought of why that could possibly be, that 3 drivers have all of a sudden lost it on exactly the same corner. And do you know what makes it worse? They were all at different parts of the corner. They weren't even in the same part. They was literally at the end of the middle and at the beginning. So I'm wondering if there was a crosswind down in turn 1 that's caused that problem for 3 drivers to go off at the same time. That's very unusual to see.
Yeah. Luca Verani said to us before the day that the gusts of wind could come in the S's. It certainly did in practice, he told us. Where 2 cars lost the wheel at the same time. That looks somewhat similar, but in the other case, the other cars down the road is my question, somewhat. He also mentioned about turn 1 being tricky, which has certainly proved to be the case on that occasion. Here is the battle for the championship. 3rd place is the prize for the moment for Brent Ruiz as he tries to chase down the current leader and previous champion of this season at Series, at Lee Aberdeen. He defends slightly into turn 1. Brent Ruiz with little interest in going for a move there, at least on the inside. He doesn't push the issue through the middle of the corner either. and so stays in 4th place as Lee Aberdeen holds on to that final spot on the podium for now.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of gripping onto it. I'm wondering if Aberdeen is slowing Ruiz down a little bit here, because he's been trying his hardest to try and get past him, and I think if he's going to have any chance of getting into that winning position, he needs to clear him. He's coming into Degner 1 at the moment, a fast right-hander. Then it's going to be quite a tough braking zone at the bottom going into Degner 2. Looking for the dip on the inside. There it is. Now you get the rotation out and start moving up towards the hairpin. It's full on, full straight up as soon as you can. Hit your braking point, get it turned as soon as possible. Now you can see Lee Aberdeen takes a very wide line. Brent Ruiz hugs the apex a little bit more. So now it's all about getting that speed and getting that run. He needs to try and get as close as he can up in through Spoon to be able to really make this difference on that run down that back stretch, because he's got to try and get him. I think Aberdeen is somewhat holding him up here, and I do feel Ruiz is going to need to clear him, because I can tell you one man is not going to take 2 bites at a Jerry, and that will be Mackenzie Rooney. He'll have you in one go, so I'm going to chew you up and spit you out if you hang in there too long.
Yeah, so this is becoming quite a group now. 3rd place. Look at that behind them. Goodness me, it's even bigger than I thought, actually. Although that camera is slightly foreshortening the angle, I suppose. The top 4 are the ones who are really quite close together. It's Mackenzie Rooney and Evan Way who are the ones tagging on to the back of this. Tony Jimenez and Jakub Olszewski, Luca Brani and Andy Flint are all trying to get involved as well. Dennis Cornu just a second removed from that as well, but as they go down these long straights, it's been surprisingly effective round here. Will Ruiz go for it now? He looks to the inside of his rival. Big move to the inside from Brett Ruiz, who takes 3rd place away. But Lee Aberdeen comes back at him on the exit of turn 2. He's not going to go side by side through the S's. He knows the situation here. He knows the championship situation. There's no point making any huge risks, as Brett Ruiz did there down the inside. Lee Aberdeen not willing to play those games and drops down to 4th place.
He needed that. Brett Ruiz needed to stamp his authority over that move. He literally come from so far back, and he had to, because he was being held up. I am really expecting him to start opening up 6, 7, maybe even 8 tenths by the end of the lap, and I'm expecting Mackenzie Rooney to put Lee Aberdeen under pressure. I do feel that Brett Ruiz did and has had the pace over Lee Aberdeen, and we'll have a look back at his lap time in conjunction, where you can see in the first sectors there, Aberdeen was slower, moving quicker in sectors 2 and 3. But if we have a look back over the lap times for the last 2, you can see Aberdeen has been slower. Yes, albeit lap 2, lap 3, lap 4, we're only on 5, and he's only 1,000th of a second slower on lap 4. But I am expecting him to start dropping off away here, because I think Ruiz has got some pace in him.
I think so, but it is going to be tricky when he's towing those guys around behind him for him to keep them at bay, especially Lee Aberdeen, who really want to see him not get away here, as Aberdeen makes it clear into the final chicane that he's not going for a move. Brent Ruiz doesn't quite believe him for a moment, and then pulls back to the racing line, as you would expect. It's a good final chicane though, and pulls the gap out to just over half second, just for a very brief moment. And then it comes back down again as Lee Aberdeen takes the slipstream. This is also going to help Aberdeen in fact that this is a group. If he stays with Brent Ruiz, he'll always get the slipstream from the American ahead of him, thus making it difficult for the other American, Mackenzie Rooney, to actually pass him.
Yeah, I think who was that? It's just had a bit of a moment down the back end of the field. It was Zamato. I thought it was, I saw Zamato start going up and down the order, and unfortunately it looks like between him and Robert Ridgway may have had there was
0 to it.
That was Robert Ridgway. I didn't figure out that was. Let's see if we can find out who it was with Robert Ridgway. The number 93. Malik Otlofs.
Spinning off to the side there, that was indeed Robert Ridgway. It's sort of Spanish looking Ridgway almost, isn't it? It's very
so
a good
hard.
bit of contact.
I agree on that. That's a tough one to try and decipher.
Yeah. The thing that makes it look worse as well is the fact that there's wheel-to-wheel contact. Just makes it look a bit more spectacular, a bit more severe than maybe it was in the end. But there you go. Neither here nor there. This points is out of Spoon Curve again. Goes. He just has some speed here. He's going to win at Aberdeen eventually, but it's just going to be difficult. Japan. Suzuka is a surprisingly slipstream heavy circuit. we talk about the S's here a lot, but it's the straights where you can really stay together here, especially in cars that don't give off so much dirty air as Formula 1 cars.
Yeah, and it looks like to me Aberdeen just lost a 10th and a half going through Casio Triangle. A 10th and a half is massive, especially when you've got this man closing down on you, and I think that's the thing for these guys. Mackenzie Rooney is not going to give up on Lee Aberdeen, and I said, what did I say, 6-7 tenths by the end of a lap. He's now 8 tenths as well, so Ruiz has definitely got pace, and Lee Aberdeen is struggling here, because I can tell you one thing, if Mackenzie Rooney gets past him, he's going to be in the clutches of Evan Way, Mr. Consistent, as we know, all last season, and has made great strides this season, and that's reflected in his championship position as well. So I think overall, Evan Way's having another great season, top 10 at the moment with 1 drop week applied. If you apply both of them here, he goes up 1 place into 9th, so he's still having a great season as Evan Way, and he's got a pace as well. So I'm fearful if Aberdeen goes back anymore, loses a place to Rooney, could lose a place to Way, and there's no certainty that he won't end up losing it between Jimenez and Oleszynski, because they're not too far away from him either.
Yeah, the thing though with Lee Aberdeen is that sometimes he goes through these periods in races and he just comes out the other side okay. I'm not saying he's going to get past Brent Ruiz again, because I think that's going to be tricky for him, but I think in terms of stopping losing so many places, I think there is a bit of speed in that car, maybe to come a little bit later on. Don't forget, we're only a quarter of the way through this race at the moment. There's still a long way to go, and it is a relatively long race as far as these cars are concerned. Luca Verani said that you use all but 2 litres of fuel in this race. It is a relatively long race. The tyres will surely be falling apart a little bit as well, and that's another thing that he mentioned to us at the start of the day. They were expected to be an issue despite the low track temperatures that you commented on earlier on. It's just the high load nature of these corners really that makes it very, very tricky indeed. So if Lee Aberdeen's just taking good care of his tyres right now, whereas some of those around him are not, then he'll be in the money later on with so many laps remaining.
Yeah, but he's got to make sure he doesn't leak positions first. He doesn't, want to be that tap that's fixed by a bad plumber, and unfortunately it's just still dripping after you paid him a couple of £100. Aberdeen's got to make sure he doesn't start losing anymore. If he can, the thing is, he's gonna have to push with room behind him. So if he's pushing with room behind him, he's obviously gonna then start scrubbing them tyres. But he's already lost 1.3 seconds to Brent Ruiz, and I fear if Ruiz can get out 2.5, 3 seconds maybe, I don't know if there's any way back for Aberdeen, even if he does manage to preserve tyres. But it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, let's see. I think he's got something in the bag here, but let's see. He has lost the slipstream of Brent Ruiz, which is going to make life a bit more difficult now. Mackenzie Roon will start to fancy his chances actually at getting up into 4th place right now. Queuing up further behind is Evan Way in 5th position, then Tony Jimenez, then Jakub Olszewski. Luca Verani is catching on here too with Andy Flynn to add a 3rd American to this group, if we can still counting Brent Ruiz, which I think we can start not to. Here goes Mackenzie Roon though. Look at the overspeed he's got on the way towards 130R. The problem with catching here is that you're almost too close to him by the time you get to the bend, and look, he's just unsighted there. He can't quite get into the corner the way he'd want to. Stays to the middle of the road, makes Lee Aberdeen think about him a little bit, but what that does is gives Mackenzie Roon a bad run onto the front straight, and now he's the one under pressure from Evan Way.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a sloppy Casio for Mackenzie Roon. He really needed to be so clean. He should have just tried to, if he wasn't going to be able to get the move done in Casio, look at trying to take his line. Jakub Oleszynski side by side with Tony Jimenez at the moment as well, and there is Mr. Jimenez in that XPD Emerald machine in their traditional green colours. Of course, Oleszynski trying to close up now, and coming through the second part of the S's, the left-right, before they go down here, before they go up into Dunlop, I should say. They want to be careful, don't let the car run too wide, because that curb could really decide that it wants to all of a sudden bite you. And now they're coming into Degner's 1. The fast right-hander, of course, now heavy on the brakes as well, looking for the dip in the inside. There he is, and off they go once more. So yeah, great little fights going on up here, and these guys really developing into this battle. Rishi Taperia, Leonard Cherry and Tumon Tulamond are there as well. They're scrapping further down for 13th 13th, 12th and 11th place. And then we've got Dennis Cornu with Joseph Lucas, Eddie Amos in that striking Tron livery-esque machine, looking rather gorgeous with Marcius Putnieks behind him.
Saw Dennis Cornu off the road, by the way, in the not-too-distant past. He was just ahead of Taperia in 11th, but now he's dropped right into... and there's the spin.
Stop!
Oh dear, he's hit the wall as well. He's lucky not to see the rear wing fall off as a result of that, actually. Just wonder whether that's damaged his diffuser a little bit, and whether the rear downforce is slightly compromised now, but he's back in with his teammates and fellow countrymen, actually. Thomas Tulemonde's in 13th place, Leclerc who's in 14th, although Tulemonde's just gone ahead of Sherry here. A side-by-side battle into chicane. There's another side-by-side battle. But Cornu is seemingly struggling. Maybe there is some rear damage on that car.
Aberdeen's he's coming under pressure. They're dropping off Evan Way, Tony Jimenez and Jakub Oleszewski. They're not making real massive inroads on Brent Ruiz. If anything, Ruiz is pulling away. Rune's another one that's got to make that decision. He either starts going and trying to send it on him, or he doesn't. And one man at the moment has just sent it on Timon Fibard Robillard. There is Stu Milne. So Milne has just got through into 20th place. So a nice little humdinging battle down here, and then we've got Ben Goyette and Tommy Moru scrubbing it out further down for 27th and 28th. I am actually wondering whether or not, yeah, it is Tommy Moru in front of us in that red livery machine. So these guys battling it out further down, but you can see now Aberdeen opened up 8/10 over Mackenzie Ring, and one simple mistake at Casio Triangle, and that's where he's ended up, unfortunately. It's caused him a little bit of problems there as Erwin Timmerkons and Zoltan Zamota are going at each other. Oh, no.
Oh, God. It's such a slow accident, isn't it, when you go off at Degner 1? There's just nothing you can do about stopping yourself from getting into the wall at Degner 2. It was a certainty back in the past when the grass and gravel was a little bit more slippery. But these days, it's not quite an all foregone conclusion, but it is somewhat of a conclusion also. It's a possibility, I should say, when you're in that position.
Ooh.
Here is Taperia defending from Tulemonde here into final chicane. It's a much better run for Thomas Tulemonde, although he just gets it a little bit wrong on the exit of the corner. Here we go on the slipstream now. Can he find any space to the inside? Well, he doesn't want it anyway. He'll go to the outside here. Thomas Tulemonde, as he tries to work his way through into 11th place, and Rishi Taperia in 12th now, and sent into 12th place by Tulemonde, who rips right round the outside. No response from the American. And there's a spin in the background from Leonard Sherry, who's no longer involved with the two of them.
No, Leonard Sherry just gets it all wrong down into turn 1, and unfortunately he's got down the order. He's dropped all the way down to 21st place. I fear there's a little bit of deja vu from what we watched earlier. All of a sudden the back end's going to step out on him into 1. Carries far too much speed. You're never going to get that stopped in a month of Sundays, to be honest with you, unfortunately, Leonard there. And around he goes. Lee Aberdeen 1.2 seconds now ahead of Mackenzie Rune. Luca Varani's tracking down Jakub Oleszewski with Tony Jimenez in front. So this has become a 4-car fight again, but they are spreading out a little bit as Dennis Cornu and Thibaut Rabillard, I believe, have probably just had a bit of a moment together here. Oh, yes.
Oh, dear. That is not a move you often see come off very well. And Thibaut Rabillard's got his rear right suspension hanging off at all angles. Look at that dive down the inside. He's on such a narrow angle. Cornu tries to give him some space, but Rabillard is going straight for the outside there. And in the end, they're both off the road.
Yeah, again, that month of Sundays, never going to make that. Through Degner, you don't even think about it. You stay and follow. That's what you've got to do through Degner. You definitely do not start making moves like that.
Well, unfortunately, they both got the consequences of that now as we go 3 wide into turn 1 here. Around the outside for Tony Jimenez, who works his way through on Evan Way. Jakub Oleszewski tried to get himself involved there as well. In 8th place currently, he wanted 7th on Evan Way. That was close to a 3 wide moment, but this is all helping Lee Aberdeen, who's now settled into this race a little bit, really. He's 4th. and has done exactly what I said. I think he's preserved the tide for the first part, and he's now pushing on in the second.
Yeah, Tulamon's just had another bit of a moment now. It looked like somebody else went off. I think that might have been Patrick Williams went off in sort of sympathy. Almost. He's coming down into turn 1 again, and we'll keep an eye on where Williams is. Oh, that back end's going round. You're not stopping that. Far too fast for your own good. What does Williams do coming into turn 1 here? Does he do the same thing? Almost. Literally. Almost.
That's identical.
Yes, yes, pretty much the same thing as Thomas Tulemon. So unfortunately for them too, they've gone off again. But again, has that crosswind that Luca Varani told us, is it shifted from the S's, and we're seeing it more and down in turn 1, because we have seen multiple people. And one of the things I did want to pick up on the free wide belt was Jakub Oleswinski and Evan Way. Really probably would have been a somewhat really awkward debrief, considering these two are on Modern Racing Prince GP team and they're leading the team championship. Somewhat awkward if they might have had an accident.
And there goes Evan Way past Tony Jimenez. It certainly is into 130R. Yeah, I don't think that personally that the wind was playing much of a factor there. I think they were just going too fast into turn 1, to be honest. Remembering that despite the wind conditions and these car conditions or whatever, you are still in control of your own destiny in some way when you're going down in towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Jakub Olszewski goes down the inside of Tony Jimenez, who was making up places this time 1 lap ago. Now he's losing them. Well, he's at least going to hang on to 7th place, as Olszewski wasn't able to find his way through in the end, but that would sort of been a nervy moment for Tony Jimenez, as unfortunately Jose Lucas just dropped out for a brief moment there, but he's back again. And he's fine. I think he was having some internet problems, but he's fine now. This is still the 5-car battle, though. This is the bottom half of the top 10 right now, as the top half have gotten away and are now running their own races.
Yeah, Andy Flint trying to chase down on Luca Varani at the back end here of this pack. He really wants to try and get onto them if he can. Marcis Putnieks is not too far from Eddie Amos. Tommy Moru and Nicholas Westman are also next to each other. We haven't really lost loads of people. Tulemond is in the pits still. We've lost Ravelada, we've lost Byland. Koji Ito unfortunately did not take to the start here, but now it's all about what Flint and Varani are going to do. You know, do they go? Do they not? Have they got the pace? Have they got the not? How long are they going to hold on for them tyres? Are they, going to treat them nice and give them a bit of a cuddle, and then in the last 5 they're going to start absolutely hammering them? All to play for here with Varani and Flint. I'll be interested to see how this develops and how far Flint can actually get up the grid.
Yeah, it certainly will. It's difficult to work your way through sometimes here at this circuit, though, so we'll see how far he can get as we hit the halfway mark now in this race. 13 laps down, still 13 to go for Jesper Sandström, who is leading the race, as he has done with every single lap of the 13 so far. A brief challenge in towards turn 1 from him, from Rayan Hakim in the opening lap of the race, but since then it's been a pretty plain sailing as his second group, with a lot more movability, makes its way down towards turn 1. Single file for these guys for the first time in a few laps.
Yeah, I think that's probably smart. We're coming into that midsection of the race. It's now going to determine who's managed to hang on to the tyres or who's thrashed them over the first 14. They've really got to be paying attention now as well to what the car itself is doing. Are you braking early because you have to, because you've got nothing on the tyres? We've got Eddie Amos and Marcius Putnieks. They're going side by side, coming out of 1. Amos on the right hand side, managing to make it up through the S's, not this time. Joseph Lucas and Stuart Meehl were side by side at one point there, going into turn 1 as well. Dennis Cornu is having a nice little bit of a ding dong here with Alex Hopkins as they're coming over the start finish line as well. Cornu's of course been involved and caught up himself in a few little ta-ta-tas, should we say, and Cornu, oh, is he going to get that? Oh, blimey, he entered there with some pace. I didn't think he was going to get that stopped.
Just about managed it. He tries to recover from his issues earlier on in the day. Now, I think Tony Jimenez has gone out a bit too hard in this race, because he's now starting to struggle a bit. You can see the gap just opening up in front of him. Or, to be fair, Evan Way might be on the move himself, because Mackenzie Rooney is being caught and dragged into this also. Maybe both of those things are happening, to be honest with you. Jakub Olszewski is the closest driver to making an overtake in this group, though. He's just behind us here. Is he going to do anything into 130R? He's very close to doing so, but it's that problem again. You get too close into 130R, you almost don't have a chance by the chicane, and so turn 1 is a better chance, but that relies on you getting a good run through the chicane. Unfortunately, I think Jimenez has got that better run. He's all over the curve there as Olszewski and it's not a good enough run for him to make a move. The fact he's got the slipstream means that it's going to be difficult for Luca Varani, who did get a much better run, to make a move, although that doesn't make it impossible. Here goes Varani. He closes in. He's not going to be making any rash decisions, though, as we know.
No, he's not. He's going to take them. I'll tell you what, though, we will capitalise on that mistake. Oleswinski made the mistake going into one. Yeah, Varani aired on the side of caution then as well. I just wonder if he could have been a bit more braver with the car. I think he might have managed to sort of maintain that position and hold that stick there, but we know obviously the way Varani drives is a very cautious style, and obviously he makes up positions, and again that's reflected in where he is in the standings. You know, we apply one drop week to the driver's standings, and you end up with Luca Varani sitting in 4th place. We apply 2 drop weeks to the standings and Varani goes into 3rd, so clearly he knows what he's doing. He's not silly, is he, this man? So he'll make it. I'm sure he'll try and make a move capitalising off Oleswinski's mistake.
And that, by the way, shows a level of consistency when you move up having applied drop weeks, because it means that you're getting points taken away from you during the drop weeks, and whereas the others are not. His worst result, by the way, came at Montreal. That was round 4 of the championship, where he finished down in 18th place, I believe. That was, I think, that day where he had to pit during the race and so on. He moves down the inside though now into 130R. He moves through on Jakub Olszewski. Will outbrake him as well, so moves up into 8th place. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Varani's been holding back a little bit through these opening laps, and now he's going to unleash with the fresh tyres, but goodness me, that was not a good line through the final chicane, and Jakub Olszewski is going to get that position handed back to him straight away.
Yeah, now Varani's got to decide what is he going to do. Is he going to send it in deep into one and run the outside? He's not. He nestles back in here as well, so Luca Varani nestles back in behind Oleswinski. He's the only man, when we apply the drop weeks to the standings, that in the top, where is he at the moment, in the top 3 that has not won a race this season as Luca Varani. He's had 3 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 2 podiums, but he's never won a race. Average start 11th, average finish 7th, so goes to show how consistent he is, but he's just not quite got that race victory. Aberdeen, of course, has got race victories, and so has Brent Ruiz. I believe Ruiz has got 1 and Aberdeen's got 3, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, he's still erring on the side of the caution for the win. He's just not quite got it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, although this is the best season that I believe Luca Varani's had for quite some time at the moment. It's been a very long time, by the way, since Luca Varani won a race in the IGP Formula 3 League, as it was at the time. Excuse me, he's had plenty of podiums between then and now, but it was 2020 when he last won a race in this series. He has much more success being consistent, as we've already talked about, and we talk about at length actually in these broadcasts. He was 3rd in the second season 1 year ago, 2023, and that says it all really. 4th again in the last season of 2023. He's had a number of top 10 finishes. Unfortunately, season 3 of last year wasn't so good for him. He was away for quite a period of that season, but now that he's back, he's firing on all cylinders, and he could be on his way for his best season finish in 12 months. Let's wait and see as he tries to close in on Jakub Olszewski here for 8th place. The slipstream roaring now, and he's going to be down to the inside and making his way through. He's level into the first couple of corners. Olszewski goes a little bit wide. There's not a lot you can really do from that situation if you are the pole, and so Luca Varani makes his way forward into 8th position, and that's been coming for quite some time. Yeah, he's not going away. And Andy Flint is just sitting there and watching almost. There's a big gap behind here. It looks like everyone in the top 10, barring a big error, will finish there. But in what order is the question. Barani does not want Olszewski to go for it at 130R, and that's somewhat understandable, but he won't be able to put him off for too much longer, I don't think. Looking down the inside, he can't quite do it there. And Varani hits that first apex a lot better. He's had a much better run through the chicane. I think that has done enough to seal him another lap in 8th place. By the way, all three of these guys have recently got through on Rishi Taparia, who I think has been off the road in that previous lap. So they're all fighting now for 12th place, whereas previously it was 13th. Still Stuart Milne ahead of Eddie Amos and Marcius Putniks, but this is why they're fighting for an extra place compared to where they were. Taparia is completely on his own here, down into the Castillo Triangle, hits that first curve and goes for it, and it's one of those awkward spins that you really need to reverse out of. So Varani is just clinging on to the hope of keeping the slipstream of Tony Jimenez, but there's not much use in that. He's nowhere near close enough. And so through will go Jakub Olszewski down to the inside, and he's back to 8th place again. He's looked, oh, he's off! Oh dear, a sudden snap of oversteer, and 8th place goes to the gravel. Jakub Olszewski will continue in the top 10, but what a violent spin for the pole.
Along the outside there, and he literally just went right the way round and right the way back again. So yeah, very awkward.
I nearly burnt my arm last time I used a direct drive wheel. Which shouldn't matter. But there we go. Hopefully he's all right to finish in the top 10. I think he should be. He's got plenty of time up to Claire, who's in 11th place. Only 6 seconds now, which is half of what it was before, but still that should be fine for the remaining 7 laps of the race, which is what we've got when we get to the line again. And Jesper Sandström is very close to doing that indeed. He's in the final chicane right now, and he has absolutely dominated this race here this afternoon, as he so often does. He doesn't appear every week, and that is an understatement yet for Jesper Sandström, unfortunately. We'd like to see a bit more of him. He is a previous champion of this series, but my goodness, he is quick when he is here.
Yeah, he's so fast, and I think that he's making... It's just a shame we can't keep him here for a season, regularly every single week, and I think he would be up there, and if not a champion already, because he is just frightfully quick, and it's really quite scary. But I can tell you what, Eddie Amos is looking a little bit racy here as well. He needs to get a little bit of a better run out of Casio, stay as close to Stu Milne as he can, and now start making his way forward there as well. So Eddie Amos settling in behind Stu Milne. Welcome in, Joey G. I can only hear one commentator. Right, that's all sorted out. I managed to resolve that. And Patrick People, wish I could have raced, too tired from racing the Nürburgring 24 last night. So from midnight until 4 a.m. Yeah, not good.
That's the morning shift, very much. European time, but the graveyard shift as far as the Americans are concerned. By the way, some stats on Jesper Sandström, by the way. This is his third appearance this season. That's the most we've seen from him since the third season of 2023. The last time he did more than that, he won the title back in the first season of 2023. Now, he dominated that season, to be honest, and that's the only time he's finished in the top 30 of an IGP season. The last time he won an event was back at the Hockenheim in the first season of 2024. He should have won the time before that Ferrari as well. He crashed on the last lap just as me and Biggles were lauding him as the race winner.
Oops.
Yeah, indeed, that's our fault really. But so sorry about that. But hopefully he gets home this time. Saw Cherry off the road that time around, back down to 18th place. Unfortunately, this is what happened into the two Degners.
Oh, he hit the curb.
Clip over the first curb and a trip through the gravel, which just saved him from hitting the wall.
Yeah, he did. He bumped that first curb, and you already see that he unsettled the car straight away, did Leonard, and unfortunately that was the final result of it. We saw the whole complete thing. So, yeah, tough move there, but I'm sure Westman won't be moaning as he now gets to have a good old little ding-dong with Adam Townsma here as they go into Casio. Townsma's got that tie. This could be Westman's going down into turn one. We'll stay on board just a little bit, but he didn't exactly get the greatest exit. So it's going to be close whether or not he's going to get it.
Let's see on another run down in towards turn number one in this race. It's going to be single file, I think, here. It'll be a late one for Westman in the Finland colours very much. The lightest blue and white. He's had a good run through turn one though, as Adam Townsma got it all wrong. And now Westman's going to go for it side by side in the Estes. It's a difficult enough section on your own, but these two are going wheel to wheel. And in the end, Adam Townsma hangs on to that 16th position. Yeah, he does. Holds on that. For how long? That's going to be the question, Ethan. That's sort of question for Westman. There's more syllables than what I put in it the first time I said it. Blimey, he carried some speed in through Degner 1. Townsman was a little bit slower on that run up into the hairpin. These guys absolutely going. You see Cherry even backed away from that, because I thought that was going to go all wrong as well. Yeah, that was close, certainly. It's getting to that point in the race now. 5 laps to go, including the one that we're on at the moment, which is pretty important really now to make any moves that you can. Spoon curve goes Westman, applying that pressure to Adam Townsma for the moment. Both of them inside the top 20 in the championship. Nicholas Westman in 11th place as of right now. A little bit further down, unfortunately, for Adam Townsma. He's actually 23rd and not in the top 20. Side by side for the two of them, and Westman is through indeed into 16th place. He seemingly had the speed as well, as they might all get another position for free here, just up ahead of them. Stuart Milne, I think, went off the road there, although he's back on again in 14th place before these three could get there. Yeah, I'm wondering if he just went a little bit wrong through. There you go. Oh, he gets a little bit of a snap coming out the Casio exit. And then he's going to be managing to get some position here as well. So he manages to hold on, doesn't lose too many. Didn't get involved with the Westman Townsma Cherry battle that's starting to develop. Oleszewski has now got Alexis de Klerk behind him. So the Frenchman is going to be chasing down on Oleszewski, the man from MRP, leading the team standings with Evan Way, who is currently sitting in 6th place. So a great job from him. And not many battles inside that top 10 now. Luca Baroni has caught up to Tony Jimenez in these final few moments, but I don't know if he's quite got enough time to work on a move. Took him quite a while to get past Jakub Olszewski, who's under pressure of his own. I said that he would be fine to make it to the top 10, but I think he's had a mistake, hasn't he? Since the first one that we saw from him, that big snap of oversteer that we saw from him at turn number 1. I think there's been another, and De Klerk has been able to catch up very quickly as a result. So the final spot inside the top 10 is going to be fought over in these final 4 laps. It's the Degners this time. A clip on the first Degner curb, and he's lucky again to avoid the wall. The trouble is, they normally come in threes, as my mum always says, as superstitious as the old dear is, bless her. So
are we going to see another one from Oleswinski that's not going to kind of end up so quite lucky as the ones that we've seen so far? It's a trial game for Jakub Oleswinski. Let's hope we don't see it, because he's done really well, and I'd love to see him in 10th place. He is down 2 from where he started, which is fair enough. De Klerk is up 7, however. Ben Goyet is up 14, one of the highest movers, but he has currently, he's got chasing down on Zoltan Zamota. So yeah, still Ben Goyet having a nice little ding dong with Zoltan Zamota further down here as well as we go on to lap 23.
It's not long for the end now. Not long to make your moves in the groups that are still remaining to be sorted out. Down over the line for this battle for 20th place, a personal best from Ben Goyet on the last lap there. By the way, Jasper Sandström still saying personal best, and indeed past his snaps overall at the very front of the field. 48.4, the previous best for him as he went over the line that last time around. He is not going to be caught today, barring any incident or accident that we have seen before when I've said those words. So let's hope that doesn't happen this time round. Up towards 130R for Mackenzie Roon as he tries to hang on to the last spot inside the top 5. Evan Way has been pushing a little bit in these final few moments, and Mackenzie Roon struggling round the outside through 130R. Side by side between the two of them as they both correct the slides that they were getting. Evan Way breaks early, doesn't want any part of that into the chicane, but interestingly he did want part of it going into 130R. Now he's got the run out of that chicane, he's got the traction, he'll have the slipstream now as well. He'll have to choose the outside line. Mackenzie Roon pinned up to the right hand side, protecting that preferred line into the first couple of corners, but Evan Way's speed could be insurmountable round the outside of the first couple of corners for the Canadian. Can he manage it here on the way in towards the S's? They're still locked together in this fight for 5th position. Inside for the first part of the S's, but Evan Way gives him the outside for the second, and he finally gets into the top 5.
Oh, that was absolutely amazing, respectful driving from Evan Way and Mackenzie Roon. That was just like, he held the outside, he kept it in coming out of 1 as well, made it up through the S's, got the job done in the second part. He's now just got to hold on going in through the Degners, which he has done. Can he lock the door off coming in through the hairpin as we see Lucarani go a little bit wide there? He's still got Andy Flint pressurising in behind, but yeah, Evan Way, what can you say? Take a bow, son. That was absolutely outstanding driving. And now we've got De Klerk and Oleswinski still going at it each other here as well. These guys have been at it for the last couple of laps since we saw Oleswinski's spin. Unfortunately, he's had 2 close calls. Can he afford a third one?
Exactly. Now the lap counter shows only a couple to go, and Sandström's about to get into the penultimate lap, I think. This is already on it. Let's see. He's just about to cross the line now. There we go. Penultimate lap, so running out of time now, really, for Alexis De Klerk. Oh, that's not good news up on the curve. Through spoon curve can spin you around sometimes, but a much better second part. What a run! And Jakub Oleswinski doesn't know where to go. I think he wants to let De Klerk through so that he can maybe come back at him on the final lap.
Yeah, he's going to try and get him going. No. De Klerk just turned around and said, nope, not going to go there, which seems a little bit strange.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wants the final lap to be second so that he can go for it into turn 1. But Oleswinski's basically begging him to go through here, and De Klerk's saying absolutely not, thank you. Well, now he defends again, Oleswinski. De Klerk goes to the outside, but half-heartedly, and he doesn't seem to quite have the straight line speed either, to be fair to hang on. Although he's got late braking, the two of them being very careful with each other into turn 1 and 2 here. Plenty of racing room given. De Klerk will get the inside for the first part, outside for the second, and we'll let Oleswinski go. No, he'll stay alongside. And finally, tentatively, he does work his way through into 10th position. Well, that was a strange battle. I have a feeling both of them are sort of trying to work out who should be where going on to this last lap.
That was almost reminded me of the Chuckle Brothers. I don't know if anybody's seen the Chuckle Brothers, but it was very much to me to you scenario. It was like Lewis and Max all over again trying to get the DRS. It was like, no, you go, after you, sir. You know, and then in the end, De Klerk just said, right, I'm going to go. And even then, it was, as you say, a very tentative, half-hearted move. So, you know, we'll see how this one pans out for Alexis De Klerk as as well. We've got Jesper Sandström going to be coming over the line for the final time. One more lap to go. The final lap of the race. There's Barney on the right-hand side, stuck behind the barrier this time, unfortunately for Barney. And this is the final chance for Mackenzie Roon and Evan Way to settle their little battle they've had all the way through here. Who's going to take it? Is Way going to be stronger than Roon? He looks like he's got a bit of a pace down there.
And Olszewski and Declare are going at it again. Olszewski's back through as it's battle for 5th place. Looks to be just whimpering out here at the end of the race. So does the battle for 7th place. But this is absolutely on for 10th here. Not sure whether Declare made a mistake, whether he really wanted Olszewski to go through here or not. But now it is all about the last lap and it's last chance really for everybody. I just don't think the Frenchman's really got the speed in a straight line to challenge Jakob Olszewski, who will hang on to 10th at least into the first sector of this last lap.
Yeah, I think he will for a minute. Let's see how this pans out going up through the S's. He really wants to try and stay with him. Obviously, the little bit of dirty air coming off the car in front, so he wants to make sure he can hold on if there's any wash or anything that causes him a bit of a problem. It's going to be going down that back stretch that really he's going to find if he's going to have that issue. And I think overall, he's just got to make sure he can stay close enough coming out the hairpin. Sandstrom's going down that way for the final time. We've got Evan Way and Mackenzie Roon. They're coming into Spoon as well. So the final chance here for Mackenzie Roon, is he going to be able to make it through or is he not?
Richard Pereira off, I'm afraid, on this final lap. We'll go back and look at that in a few moments' time because out front of the field, Jesper Sandström is coming through the final chicane. Not seen much of him today, but he's been clinical as always. Jesper Sandström wins another IGP Super Formula Lights League race here this time at Suzuka. What's going to happen for 5th place? Mackenzie Roon looking for the pass on Evan Way into the very final chicane of the race. Side by side, they try and brake late. Mackenzie Roon brakes too late and can't make it into 5th, and Evan Way hangs on.
Yeah, that was it. That was very anticlimactical, wasn't it? Coming out of the Casio, we were all on edge, and then all of a sudden, big puffs of smoke from Mackenzie Roon. What about Alexis de Klerk and Jakob Oleszewski? Oh, you're not gonna. Oh, don't jeopardize your own line. Oh, Oleszewski got it a little bit wrong. Could be a run down to the line. It's literally right at the beginning there as well. Oleszewski will manage to hold on over Alexis de Klerk. What about Eddie Amos and Putnieks? Putnieks got Amos there on the run down into the final part. Through 130 they go, and Putnieks has gone through. So yeah, and then makes it stick going into Casio. So great job there from Marcis Putnieks. Mind you, Amos made him work for it, which is always great. And then we've got Don Lean and Giovanni Solito as they're coming down a final run here. This could be an interesting one.
The final battle to come across the line. There's still 28 on the lead lap. It's quite a long circuit, and so there's plenty of teams and drivers on the lead lap here today. Is good, and quite a lot of people getting to the end of the race as well. 32 classified out of the 38 that started, which is quite a high percentage compared to some of the races we've seen so far this season. As over the line for Alex Hopkins, just ahead of Marek Otlovs. That was for 23rd, and Giovanni Solito hangs on ahead of Don Lee for 26th in the end. Oscar Ortinano is going to be the final driver to cross the line in what was quite an interesting race, I've got to say, for the 26 laps. Very much enjoyed that one. Was battles all the way through, and for the most part inside the top 10 as well for the first 20 laps or so, but out front it was Jesper Sandström who was undoubtedly always going to win that race. 3.9 seconds the gap to Ray Hakim at the end. Brent Ruiz gains a point over his championship rival Lee Aberdeen, but the gap's still 15 with 2 rounds to go. Evan Way hung on ahead of Mackenzie Roon at the end there, with Tony Jimenez holding off Luca Verani and Andy Flint. Jakob Olszewski got ahead of Alexis de Klerk to finish inside the top 10 at the end. Marcis Putnieks finishes 12th ahead of Eddie Amos, with Nicholas Westman Stewart winning. Adam Townsler, who's a contender for most positions gained but doesn't quite get it. Tommy Maru finished 17th ahead of Leonard Sherry. Richard Taparia, who went off on the last lap, and Zoltan Motu rounds out the top 20. And then the driver with the most positions gained today, Ben Guet, started down in 35th. He finishes 21st with 14 gained on the day. Robert Ridgway finishes 22nd ahead of Alex Hopkins, with Mike Sotlovs and Irvin Turmikins rounding out the 2 Latvians for the top 25. Giovanni Solito held on ahead of Don Lee, and then Oscar Ortinano, the final driver on the lead lap. Matthew Gracie, Doran Arroyo, Jeans Carvajal and John McKenzie were 1 lap down, and then you get to those who weren't classified. Dennis Cornu, Patrick Williams, Joseph Lucas, Thomas Toulemond, Thibaut Rabelais, and Kevin Bylands, who started from the pit lane. Koji Ito never took to the start at all.
Unfortunately, we can have a look back and see what happened to Rishi Taparera.
Oh, whoa. That's Dunlop. And not the first spin that he had in that race, I've got to say, which is a shame.
This is where it goes off, unfortunately, for it. On and off, on and off, and on and off for him. So, yeah, a couple of people having a little bit of a problem over the final lap. Leonard Cherry, I believe, also had a bit of an issue going through Degner 2, just runs in wide, goes out there as well. So, yeah, but that was a really good race. As you say, the top 10, top 15 really held their own tonight and really put in the battles. And then we saw even Alex Hopkins was still having a go, Jakub Oleszwinski, Don Lee further through. So there was action all the way through that this evening.
There certainly was. I wonder what we're going to see in the last couple of rounds here. I mean, we can't quite hand this one to Lee Aberdeen already by any means, but 15 points now, he's got to be feeling a little bit confident about his chances.
It's what Ruiz is going to be able to do over the last 2 rounds. That's going to be the question. Whether or not Ruiz can get even remotely close to Aberdeen is the thing. We're heading to Kota next week, then we go to Watkins Glen for the final round, and I think if Ruiz is really going to try and retain his championship that he got so successfully last season, he's got to take points out of more points than what he has this evening out of Lee Aberdeen through Kota, so he can go in and really put some pressure on at Watkins Glen.
Well, that's round 10 complete. Just 2 more to go in the iGPFun Super Formula Lights League for the second season in 2024. Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast here this afternoon. Myself, Ian O'Leary, and James Parfitt will be back again on the JPB YouTube channel for the penultimate round of the championship in 1 week's time. So I hope that you'll join us then. For now, though, we'll bid you our farewells and see you in 7 days. Goodbye for now.